I've been thinking about something Coach Shields said. He said you could put 100 athletes in one room, and maybe only five of them truly want everything that comes with being an athlete. And when people hear that, a lot of them immediately become defensive. They think he is insulting athletes. They think he is calling young people lazy, weak, spoiled, or soft. But honestly, that is not what he is saying at all. He is asking us to stop looking only at the uniform and start looking at the person wearing it. Because just because someone plays a sport does not automatically mean they are truly committed to everything that comes with that sport. Playing and committing are not the same thing. Participating and taking ownership are not the same thing. Enjoying the sport and wanting the full responsibility of becoming a serious athlete are not the same thing. That is where people get confused. You can love basketball without wanting to become an elite basketball player. You can enjoy football without wanting your entire life to revolve around football. You can be talented in volleyball without wanting the pressure, repetition, sacrifice, and accountability that come with playing at the highest level. There is nothing wrong with that, but we have to be honest enough to recognize the difference. Because when Coach Shields says only 5 out of 100 may truly want it, he is not talking only about who wants to play. Almost everybody in that room may want to play. He is talking about who wants everything that comes with the process. A lot of athletes want the result. They want the scholarship. They want the starting position. They want the highlights. They want their name called over the loudspeaker. They want people posting their videos. They want the offers. They want the attention. They want the celebration. But wanting the result is not the same as wanting the process that produces the result. That process includes being corrected. It includes repeating the same drill over and over again. It includes working when nobody's watching. It includes sitting on the bench and continuing to prepare. It includes competing against someone who may currently be better than you. It includes listening to a coach tell you something that you may not want to hear. It includes making mistakes in front of people. It includes being embarrassed. It includes being tired. It includes losing. It includes waking up the next morning and going back to work after things did not go your way. Everybody wants the good part. But how many athletes are willing to remain committed when the sport stops making them feel good? That is the real question. Because anybody can look committed when they are starting. Anybody can smile when they are scoring. Anybody can feel confident when people are cheering for them. Anybody can enjoy the sport when everything is working in their favor. But what happens when their role changes? What happens when they are no longer the best player on the team? What happens when a younger athlete comes in and starts receiving attention? What happens when the coach stops praising them and starts challenging them? What happens when their confidence gets tested? That is when you find out whether they only wanted the reward or whether they truly accepted the process. And here's something people do not talk about enough. Some athletes never actually chose the dream they are being asked to chase. They started playing when they were 4, 5, or 6 years old. Their parents signed them up. The family bought the equipment. They joined a team. People noticed they had talent. Then one season turned into another season. Recreation sports became select sports. Select sports became travel sports. Now the family is spending weekends on the road, paying for hotels, tournaments, private trainers, uniforms, camps, and memberships. Before anybody realizes it, the sport has become the athlete's identity. Everybody introduces them by what they play. That's our basketball player. That's our quarterback. That's our volleyball star. That's our future college athlete. The athlete starts hearing those words before they are even old enough to understand what they really want. Now imagine that athlete getting older and realizing they may not love the sport the way everybody thinks they do. Who are they supposed to tell? How do they look at their parents after all the money and sacrifice and say, I don't know if I want this anymore? Some athletes are not afraid of failing. They are afraid of disappointing the people who built their identity around the sport, so they keep showing up. They keep putting on the uniform. They keep attending practices, but mentally and emotionally, they have already started checking out. Then adults look at their body language and say they are lazy. They say the athlete is ungrateful. They say the athlete has a bad attitude. They say the athlete does not care. But maybe nobody ever created a safe place for the athlete to tell the truth. Maybe they are tired of carrying a dream that no longer feels like their own. That is why this conversation has to be deeper than simply asking, do you want to play? We need to ask, why do you want to play? Is this still your dream? What do you enjoy about it? What are you struggling with? What do you believe everybody expects from you? Those questions may reveal something the athlete has been afraid to say. Now, we also have to be careful. Every athlete who struggles is not an athlete who does not want it. Some athletes truly want it. The desire is there. The talent is there. The work ethic may even be there, but their mind has never been intentionally trained and developed. They may want it, but they do not know how to handle mistakes. They may want it, but they overthink every decision. They may want it, but one bad play destroys their confidence for the rest of the game. They may want it, but they do not know how to control their emotions. They may want it, but criticism feels like rejection to them. They may want it, but they are afraid of disappointing everyone around them. They may want it, but they are carrying pressure from school, home, relationships, expectations, social media, or life. So when they shut down, people assume they do not care. When they become emotional, people assume they are weak. When they hesitate, people assume they are scared. When they lose focus, people assume they are undisciplined. When they struggle to recover, people assume they are not mentally tough. But sometimes the athlete is not refusing to respond. They simply have never been taught how to respond. That is a major difference. An undeveloped athlete should not automatically be labeled as an unwilling athlete. Before we decide they do not want it, we need to understand what is happening inside of them. Do they lack desire? Or do they lack the tools? Do they need more discipline? Or do they need emotional development? Are they avoiding responsibility? Or are they overwhelmed and do not know how to communicate it? Are they truly uninterested? Or have they lost confidence after years of pressure and criticism? Those questions matter, because if we misdiagnose the problem, we will use the wrong solution. And that is what happens to a lot of athletes. Their mind is struggling, but everyone keeps training their body harder. They lose confidence, so people give them more drills. They become emotionally overwhelmed, so people yell at them. They overthink, so people tell them to stop thinking. They shut down, so people call them soft. But none of that teaches the athlete how to understand what is happening in their own mind. Parents also have to be willing to look at themselves honestly. Sometimes the parent wants the opportunity more than the athlete does. The parent is searching for the trainer. The parent is calling the coach. The parent is sending the emails. The parent is editing the film. The parent is filling out the applications. The parent is waking the athlete up. The parent is reminding them to practice. The parent is carrying the equipment. The parent is researching colleges. The parent is talking about scholarships. The parent is carrying the entire dream. And when the athlete does not respond with that same level of energy, the parent becomes frustrated. But at some point, the parent has to ask a difficult question. Is this still my child's dream? Or has it become my dream? That does not mean the parent did anything wrong by supporting their child. Support is important. Providing opportunities is important. Teaching commitment is important. But there is a difference between supporting an athlete and dragging an athlete. You cannot purchase hunger. You cannot pay a trainer to manufacture desire. You cannot threaten someone into loving the process. You cannot shame an athlete into becoming committed. You can expose them to opportunities. You can teach them responsibility. You can set expectations. You can help them develop discipline. You can hold them accountable for commitments they have made. But eventually, the athlete has to take ownership. They have to decide, this is what I want. Not because their parents want it, not because their coach expects it, not because everybody thinks they are talented. They have to choose it for themselves, because when adversity comes, the parent cannot mentally compete for them. When pressure comes, the trainer cannot take the shot for them. When frustration comes, the coach cannot control their emotions for them. The athlete has to own their response. This is why Coach Shields talks so much about pressure. Pressure does not always create the problem. A lot of times, pressure exposes what was already missing. An athlete may look confident when the team is winning. But how do they respond when the team falls behind? An athlete may look disciplined when they are the starter, but how do they respond when they are moved to the bench? An athlete may look coachable when the coach is praising them. But how do they respond when the coach corrects them in front of the team? An athlete may look mentally tough when they are playing well. But what happens after 3 mistakes in a row? That is when you start seeing what has actually been developed. Can they reset? Can they remain present? Can they control their breathing? Can they listen? Can they receive correction without taking it personally? Can they separate one mistake from the next opportunity? Can they stay connected to the team even when they are disappointed? Can they continue competing without allowing frustration to take over? Those are developed skills. They do not automatically appear just because an athlete lifts weights, runs sprints, practices for hours, or plays on a talented team. Physical preparation matters. Skill preparation matters. But neither one automatically develops confidence, emotional control, self-awareness, identity, or pressure management. That is why the athlete's mind has to be developed separately outside of the sport and then applied inside the sport. You cannot wait until the athlete is breaking down in the middle of a game and expect a coach to repair years of undeveloped thinking during a timeout. The coach has an entire team to manage. The game is still moving. The pressure is already present. The crowd is reacting. The athlete needs those tools before that moment arrives. And here is what is interesting. The 5 athletes who truly want it may not be the 5 most talented athletes in the room. They may not be the tallest. They may not be the fastest. They may not be the strongest. They may not have the most followers. They may not have the best highlights, but they have made a decision. They have decided that correction will not destroy them. They have decided that failure will teach them. They have decided that discomfort is part of development. They have decided that they are responsible for their response. They have decided to keep learning when things become difficult. They understand that wanting something is not a feeling you have only when everything is going well. It is a commitment you continue honoring when the excitement wears off. Those 5 athletes may still struggle. They may still become frustrated. They may still have fear. They may still make mistakes. They may still need mindset development. But there is something inside of them that keeps bringing them back to the work. They do not only ask, why is this happening to me? They eventually learn to ask, what is this trying to teach me? They do not only blame the coach, the referee, or their teammates. They look at their own decisions. They look at their own preparation. They look at their own habits. That is ownership. And ownership is what separates someone who simply plays a sport from someone who is truly becoming an athlete. This is also why we need to stop calling every struggling athlete soft. That label does not explain anything. It does not tell us whether the athlete lacks desire. It does not tell us whether they lack confidence. It does not tell us whether they are afraid. It does not tell us whether they are emotionally overwhelmed. It does not tell us whether they are burned out. It does not tell us whether they are carrying something from home. It does not tell us whether they have been playing only to please the adults around them. Calling them soft may make the adult feel like they identified the problem, but they have not. They have only attached a label to behavior they do not understand. We have to evaluate before we label. We have to listen before we judge. And we have to develop before we demand. An athlete can only use what has been placed inside of them. If they were trained physically their entire career but never taught how to respond to failure, why are we shocked when failure controls them? If they were praised only when they performed well, why are we surprised when their identity collapses during a bad game? If nobody taught them how to communicate emotions, why are we angry when their emotions come out through body language, silence, frustration, or anger? This does not remove accountability. Athletes still have to be responsible for their behavior, but accountability without development becomes punishment. The goal should not only be to stop the behavior. The goal should be to teach the athlete a better response. So when Coach Shields says that only 5 out of 100 athletes may truly want it, do not become offended by the number. Use the statement as an opportunity to have an honest conversation. Ask the athlete, do you truly enjoy this sport? Is this still something you want? Are you willing to accept coaching? Are you willing to work when no one is watching? Are you willing to take responsibility when things go wrong? Are you willing to develop your mindset, not only your body? Are you willing to keep learning when the process becomes uncomfortable? And parents should ask themselves, am I supporting my athlete or am I carrying the entire dream? Am I listening to what my child is saying? Am I paying attention only to their performance? Or am I paying attention to the person? Have I created a safe place for my athlete to admit when they are struggling? Would my athlete feel comfortable telling me that they are tired, afraid, overwhelmed, or unsure? Those conversations may be uncomfortable, but uncomfortable truth is better than comfortable pretending. Because once the truth is identified, real development can begin. Maybe the athlete needs mindset training. Maybe they need confidence development. Maybe they need emotional tools. Maybe they need more discipline. Maybe they need time to mature. Maybe they need a different environment. Maybe they need to rediscover why they started. Or maybe they need permission to admit that their purpose is somewhere else. Whatever the answer is, we cannot help the athlete until we are willing to see the truth. So no, saying that only 5 out of 100 truly want it is not about disrespecting the other 95. It is about understanding them. It is about separating talent from commitment. It is about separating participation from ownership. It is about separating the athlete who loves the reward from the athlete who is willing to accept the responsibility. And it is about identifying the athlete who truly wants it but has never been given the mindset tools needed to handle it. That athlete should not be thrown away. That athlete should be developed. Because everybody who struggles does not lack desire. Sometimes they lack understanding, sometimes they lack confidence, sometimes they lack emotional control, sometimes they lack identity outside of the sport, and sometimes they have spent their entire career training their body while their mind was left behind. That is why Coach Shields continues talking about this. The uniform does not prove commitment. Talent does not prove discipline. Highlights do not prove emotional control. And saying, I want it, does not prove an athlete understands what the journey requires. The truth is not revealed when everything is going right. The truth is revealed when adversity enters the room. So the real question is not simply, does your athlete play sports? The real question is, does your athlete truly want the responsibility that comes with becoming the athlete they say they want to be? And if they do, has their mind been developed enough to handle the journey? Because everybody wants the opportunity, but only a few are prepared to own the process. And before we label the rest, we need to find out what they are missing.